because it's only the corruption that's holding it up. Years ago, I went to law school. I got about 3 years of law school in, but one of the last years, I worked for a law firm in Orange County, and the reason I got disgusted was they would have me look up cases. They'd say, here, Wagner, here's a pile. Look these up and have them ready in our box in the morning. They're all going home at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock. They're going to the golf course. And I'd get out and go to the library and start looking up the cases, find the things, Xerox a page, circle what they wanted to know, and pile it up there. And I might have 10 or 15 different cases, different clients. And I'd say, okay, I spent 5 minutes on this case, 10 minutes on that case, 20 minutes on this case, and I'd list how much time so they could know how much I spent. And I worked there about 2.5, 3 weeks. The first week I got paid in cash. I thought that was odd. Then the second week I got a little paycheck. But the third week I found out each time they would bill each one of those clients. Say they had 10 clients in an hour, Dan, that I worked on. And it took me 1 hour to look up 10 different clients, totally different clients, different cases, and look 10 different citations for them and put it there. That's really pushing it, working really fast. But usually I could only get 4 or 5 in an hour. And they paid me really well. I think it was like $9 an hour or something, which was just really good pay for a law student 40 years ago. That was good money, easy money too. Anyway, point was, I found out each one of those 10 clients would be billed for my time, plus they would then bill the attorney's rate for a full hour, and they'd bill me out for a full hour at $40 an hour.
Wow.
Now that's okay if they want to charge them $40 an hour for what they're only paying me 9 or 9.5, whatever it was. That's okay. That's just business. I get less, they get more. But when they charge them for time I didn't spend on their case, to me that's corruption.
Wow.
And they were doing it routinely. And I only found out the third week because I happened to see some papers that the secretary that handed me my check, I said, what? I didn't put in 40 hours last week. What are you talking about? I worked like 2-3 hours. They'd billed me out for like 39 hours or something at $40 an hour. So if I put 1 minute on your case, you got charged for an hour of my time. I said, I'm done with this. I finished that semester in law school, and I said, I'm done. I'm not going to be a lawyer. I'm done with this. I was talking to a disbarred attorney whose name I won't mention now, but I hope to get him on the show later. Oh, by the way, we have coming up a guy whose pleadings we're going to show you here in a few minutes. He's going to be on the show. He promised we're going to have him up next week of August. His name is Daniel DYDZAK. And he called me just before I left for the studio today, which made it a little hectic. And boy, is he angry. They disbarred him for exposing that Chief Justice, am I asking the right question? Ronald George, Chief Justice, ex-Justice Ronald George, was pilfering money and spending it on his personal pleasure and then overpaying clerks hundreds of thousands of dollars a year? Is that right? So they would keep their mouth shut? Holy stinking mackerel, people. And you wonder why they're closing the courts closer? What happened about 20 years ago, Dan, and all of you out there listening, about 20 years ago, about 1988, some lame brain or lawyer, member of the bar, had this great idea. Let's pay all the judges the same thing statewide. Sounds like a good idea. Sounds like you're being fair, right, Dan? So the judge sitting part-time in Alpine County and then over in Mendocino County and a couple of these little tiny counties way up north, he would get paid the same thing as a judge down in Los Angeles County or Orange County. So they passed a special law. Oh, guess who passed it? A legislature made up mostly of lawyers. Not farmers, not taxpayers, lawyers. What I like to refer to as law liars.
Yep.
Except for Tom Mesereau, Susan Yu, and Michael Mins, and Gary Zerman, and a very handful. I know hundreds and hundreds of attorneys. Most of them, I'd put them right in the trash bin and never look back. Throw a match in it, burn them up, never look back. There's, it's people like Tom Mesereau, Susan Yu, Gary Zerman, people with integrity are the exception that proves the rule that most of them are rotten, corrupt, and not worth paying them a dime. But not all of them. So I don't want to, make that brushstroke too wide to cover everybody. But anyway, this attorney, Daniel DYDZAK, you need to see these pleadings. I am not pulling this out of my head. So let's roll this tape, and we'll talk about it. Here it is. Court filed May 2nd, 2012, Central Judicial District, Orange County. And this is the case of Daniel J. And there he is, Daniel J. in pro per, but he's actually a disbarred attorney now. And he's filing, so he knows how to write this. This is not just your average in pro per. He knows how to write this stuff. There's his case number. And he's in front of Judge Muniz, who, if I remember correctly, is married to one of, I think it's John Wayne's daughters. And apparently, from the cases I've watched in Muniz, he's not as good a judge as he used to be. Let's look at that. See that? Now look at all the causes of action he's got here. Huge number, or I think there's 22 causes of action. He's the plaintiff. And there is a long list. I can't read them all. Look on the left. That's just the current list. He may be adding some more. You got Howard Dick Stein. You've got Ronald George, the former Supreme Court Justice of California, being sued. They're all defendants. What has this got to do with anything? Well, what happened, apparently, I'm asking the question, did Ronald George steal $50 million and put it in a Swiss bank account? Did he steal $100 million? I don't know. But I'd sure like to put a camera in that courtroom, on the end of August. I want a camera in that courtroom with Judge Muniz's blessing and permission. Now, what I suspect, if Judge Muniz has become corrupt, as I suspect, because people that can steal tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of your tax dollars and send it to Switzerland and then send a guy over there and his boyfriend to be the agent to place it in secret Swiss bank accounts? What is California doing having a Chief Justice putting money by the millions in a Swiss bank account? I'm just asking the question. Did that really happen? Well, it appears they didn't want this to go public. So the LA Times has stayed quiet about it. The Orange County Register hasn't said much, if anything. You're hearing breaking news. Let's look some more at this pleading. This is the first anybody has heard of this. And to top it all off, it's claimed, according to the people I spoke to today and yesterday at midnight, it's claimed they can prove it with documents. With documents, people, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars clerks were getting paid, way overpaid. Gee, Dan, if someone...
I'm in the wrong profession.
Yeah, you're in the wrong profession, Dan. If you were getting paid $900,000 a year, or some large portion of that, Dan, to just be a judge's clerk...
Wow.
Do you think...
It's unbelievable.
Do you think maybe there was something that judge didn't want you to talk to the public about?
And there might have been more going on, too, than money.
A lot more going on than money. But, I think a clerk gets paid $50,000 a year. That's pretty good pay.
Where's the morality?
Morality, yeah.
None.
Where's the morality?
The values.
But when a judge who on the records can't make more than $500,000 a year is worth 10 or 20 or 30 million. Now this came not from Daniel, from another source.
That's crazy.
I am told, and I hope to have this person on camera telling you right here on a live show. That's why you want to watch on Friday nights when it's live. He's going to tell me, I believe, and give me the answer to the question. Our Supreme Court justices of California, all miserable 5 of them, are they allowed to buy multiple million-dollar homes on what I call the sweetest sweetheart deal I have ever heard of? What's the sweetheart deal? Supposing you could buy a $3 million house in Beverly Hills and you paid 0 interest and you didn't have to make your first payment or pay it off until you sold the house.
Wow.
Hello? No reaction? Wow. Imagine you buy any house you want on Malibu Colony for $10, $15 million
Crazy.
at 0 interest, hang on to it for 5 or 10 years, have to make no payments. Now, if you're a bank making that loan to a Supreme Court judge, would that influence him? If your foreclosure came before that judge and you're being foreclosed on, you're saying, Judge, they used a robo-signature and the notary notarized an automatic robo-signature, and that's criminal, and they can't do that. Therefore, it's fraud. Therefore, you have to throw this out, and I don't get kicked out of my house, and they have to let me have the house free and clear because the notary committed fraud. But then you get up to a Supreme Court justice like Kent Hill or the former Ronald George. Hello, George. You know, or Lucas. Hello, Lucas.
God.
Oh, by the way, I think it's Lucas's wife. I have on tape. I've never published. I have to find that tape. She's telling me that in her living room, Dan, judges used to gather around with high-powered attorneys, and she would serve hors d'oeuvres, and they would settle a case in the judge's living room, not in the chambers.
Oh, yeah.
And
Crazy.
bribes would
Nuts.
be paid. And, you know, you could come in with your $100,000 bribe and say, I want my case to go this way. And the judge, I think it's Judge Lucas. I have to check to be sure, so don't hold me to that. But I got her on tape, and I've never published it because she was in the middle of a miserable divorce. And sometimes people exaggerate.
Right.
Well, now I'm told by a different, not Daniel, but a different disbarred attorney. Funny how all the good attorneys get disbarred. If you fight the system, they disbar you.
Yeah.
So you can't make money.
Oh, yeah.
Ka-ching, ka-ching. Now do you know why your attorneys don't really fight too hard for you? When they know the system wants to stick it to you, they just give you the Vaseline and help you drop your pants.
Well, that's why you don't get a public defender, because they just want you to plead guilty to anything.
That's right. That's
They
right.
won't even fight for you at all.
At all. Public defenders, I'd like to get one on here. I wish one would have the courage to come on my show because I got a bunch of them. I watch them in court. I'd like to ask them some questions. But
Yeah, right.
they won't come on here. They don't get paid enough.
Right.
The problem is we shouldn't have any bar association. There's an organization to disbar the Oregon Bar. There's an organization to disbar the California Bar, disbar the Florida Bar, disbar the Texas Bar. All over the country, people are forming things in websites. I read to you from this one. This is from this here. The Rule of Lawyers is from www.disbarthefloridabar.com. What do we know about the Florida Bar? Oh, that's where Scott Rothstein. Roll that tape. Keep rolling that tape. That's where Scott Rothstein stole $1.2 million of his client's money in a Ponzi scheme. Then flew to Morocco. Then he flew to Morocco. Yeah, there's George and his son Eric. You know, look at these causes of action, people. This is a war. You're seeing a war. Now, you may think, well, this guy's just going to get assassinated. Well, maybe, maybe not. It turns out there's a thing called the AOC. Go look it up on YouTube and start reading what the judges, other judges, I spent 3 hours after this guy called me at midnight, talked to me till 1:30 in the morning, and then I spent till almost 6 in the morning reading their website. Judges, there's like about 500 judges are against former Chief Justice Ronald George and this whole criminal racket they're running. This whole criminal racket they're running.